I just really followed my heart all the time. And I meditated, I prayed, I was very close to communicating with my angels and my guides. And and that really helped me through everything. And I think when you when you see that it is because other people are scared or they are afraid, they haven't found that within themselves, and then
Yes.
you become a threat to them. um and I understand that, and they also have to have their journey. And actually a few of the journalists that were really hard on me from start came around like 10 years later and
Mm.
said, now we finally understand what you're talking about, and I'm so sorry for everything I've done to you and all the misery I've caused you, and I actually understand what it's all about now. I'm on the same path as you.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome to the Take Back Your Mind podcast. As you know, I am your host, Michael B. Beckwith, the founder of the Agape International Spiritual Center. And when we talk about taking back your mind, we know that the brain is a symbolic structure of our mind. And we want to take back the mind so it's no longer hijacked by fear, doubt, worry, scarcity, lack, separation, hate. We want to take back our mind so that the mind becomes an avenue of peace, programmed for dynamic love and service and all of the good stuff. And so I welcome you to Take Back Your Mind. I have with me right now Märtha Louise. I'm going to give you just a little bit of information. First of all, welcome, Märtha. Appreciate you being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you're in Norway right now.
Yes, I'm in Norway, and it's evening here. It's probably daytime with you, not you're
Yeah.
9 hours behind us, I think. Yes, so yes, I'm here.
Well, I
Wanting to
appreciate
be
you
in the
being with me.
sun, but it's getting colder here now.
Well, let me tell the folks who may not know who you are. Listen, Märtha Louise was born into the Norwegian royal family. As the daughter of the King of Norway, she has used her leadership abilities to be a game changer in redefining the role of a modern royal. Märtha Louise has been an arrowhead carving a new path for Norway spiritually by breaking out of the traditional role of a princess and becoming an entrepreneur of several startups within the areas of, check this out, energy work, women's leadership, even in the world of horses. She studied to become a physiotherapist and a Rosen Method Practitioner, has hosted a number of TV shows, and has been an equestrian on the Norwegian national show jumping team. That's a lot. She is a frequently booked public speaker at world summits, corporate and private events, women's conferences, universities worldwide. She's best known for her dynamic, engaging style and her resonance among diverse audiences of all ages on topics ranging from redefining the role of women with the support of men, gender equality, and the women in leadership to highly sensitive people, and how to embrace your personal powers through opening up to your true self. She's the author of 8 books that have been translated in many languages. Welcome to Take Back Your Mind.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, that was a great. In addition to that,
Please.
we just launched a clothes brand. So I'm
Oh, yeah, I
now,
saw some of that.
yes, at our wedding because you were there.
Yes,
Because I just got married a few weeks ago now. Yeah.
absolutely. Since you mentioned that, let's talk about that right now, because I had the privilege of being a part of the wedding ceremony, as well as giving an opening address to all of the people that you invited from all over the world. And it was a love fest
Yes.
of so many people from all around the world celebrating you and Durek and it was my joy to be there. And you have a glow about you. You always kind of have a glow, but the glow is a little bit extra now.
Bit
And
extra.
that was my first time in Norway, and it was beautiful. The people were beautiful. You guys basically just put on a love party.
Yeah, so what was really important for me for the wedding was to show, especially you foreigners, my most beautiful or my most loved place in Norway, which is Geiranger. And it is one of the fjords, and a fjord is like the sea going in, and you have like mountains going straight up from the sea, from sea level, with like waterfalls coming down like from high up. It's like the Lord of the Rings kind of vibe, I would say.
It was
And
beautiful.
I wanted to I chose, or Dirk and I chose this place because it is very magical, and it's also an old Viking settlement, so it has these ley lines that go there that the Vikings used to have their settlements on. And so it's a very powerful and also spiritual place, and it was just so wonderful having everybody come in from all over the world, all walks of life, and it was really very touching how people opened up to each other and felt like family from day one. And there was quite a lot of people coming in, and you really, all of you, with your energy and your positive vibe and the experiences we had together, I think it was just so beautiful. And that was really all that we wanted, was for everybody to bring the love out in everybody, and for everybody to see this beautiful nature and to resonate with that kind of energy.
You wanted it, and it happened.
Yes,
And
that's
if I felt like I was at Agape, there's so much love. And a lot of the Norwegians were very enthused about what was being brought there. And
yes, it's amazing. And your speech, because you had a speech, Michael, on the Reverend Michael had a speech on the first night, which like summed it all together, and like had an intention of sharing that love and seeing each other from the love perspective. And I think that really set the tone for the whole weekend, and it was just so beautiful. And you were also part of the ceremony where you did the rose ceremony in and also spoke beautiful words. I'm just so grateful for everything and
yeah,
your
I'm very honored to do it. And then many of those people from the wedding had either had layovers in LA, or they stayed over for the Sunday service. So we had, like, I don't know how many people, but we had 2 or 3 rows of people that were at the wedding be at the
yes.
Sunday service when we all got back. And that was a continual extension of the celebration of you and Durek. And it was just great. It was just it's just kind of those kind of moments where love is just so palpable. It's just so real. It's not like a concept or a theory or should, what we should do. We were having at your wedding uh like a direct experience of what love is, a total caring for everyone, and a desire that everyone grows spiritually, everyone has their best life. It was just a beautiful moment. I'm so glad that I was able to come. I met people there that I've seen at Agape over the years, but I didn't know personally, that I had an opportunity to just hang out with
Yeah.
and develop like relationship with.
Yes.
So I'll
And
always be grateful for that.
oh, that's amazing to hear. And it was just like, I think when a lot of people come together with that intention of love and opening up our hearts, that anything can happen and anything is possible. And it just felt so familiar. Like it was as though family got together without knowing they were a family before they came, but they found out very quickly that that was what it was. And I think that there was so many people said there was so many serendipitous experiences that they had, meeting people that they either needed in their life, or that came and said something to them that they needed to hear, or met people that that became really good friends over just 3 days that we were together. And that's so beautiful, and many people have also said it was transformational to have all that love around, for the amount of time we were there. And I think the world needs more of that. I think
Yes.
the world just needs, we need to feel, to like bathe in that love,
Hmm.
energy, and just how that resonates with everybody, and how that expands all of us, and the way we see life, and the way we are with each other. And it was also so beautiful, like at Agape, but it's not so usual here in Norway, is that, um, also for the ceremony, there were all walks of life, all religions, were represented, um, in the sermon. And I just think that's such a beautiful way of just like, we're just people, and we want to come together, and love binds us, and love opens us up to new ways of seeing each other, and being with each other, and opening up for respect,
Hmm.
and tolerance, and listening to each other in a different way than if we are hostile and judgy, which is
Absolutely.
the case when we meet people. And I was just so happy to bring that to everybody there.
You did it. And you mentioned this is what the world needs, because when people are into revenge and hate and judgment, they don't really understand that at that moment they're in hell. And
Yeah.
when you're into love and generosity and wanting the highest and best for another, you're in heaven. Because heaven and hell are like places you go to necessarily. It's actually states of mind. And
Mm-hmm.
so the world needs to wake up to loving for real. For many people, that was a dip into it, you know. And like you say, it's had many there's been many things that have unfolded from that. Friendships. I mean, I've got a chance to meet people that I'm in contact with now from that experience, that are now a part of, like you say, we're all family now. We care for each other. We want the best for each other. We love each other. And it's very, very powerful.
And
Tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey, because
yes.
you're
So
actually a teacher.
yes. So I think when I was little, or to me, being psychic or seeing things, is natural. And I've had it since I was very little, and I knew how people felt, and I knew where people had pain. I saw spirits, and I was, when I was little, I thought everybody had that they saw light around people, and that they had this interaction and with nature as well, this energy exchange that you could have. And I thought this was natural to everybody. And so I was a bit taken aback when I understood, when I started school, that that was definitely not the case. Uh,
Hmm.
and so I started trying to turn all of this off. And I felt that was very lonely. I felt very lonely because I felt very different. And I and also I think when you are spiritual, and they are your navigational tools, and you're very open and sensitive and an empath, that when you try and turn all this off and just navigate on the normal scale of hearing what people say and acting from that, it's a very limited form of living. And I got very confused because I didn't understand how I was supposed to be a human being without all of that. But I
Right.
understood that I wasn't right with having all of this, because nobody else around me understood what that was. And it took a long time and a long journey for me to start opening up, to even like denying that God exists, and being away from everything and just like really listening. But what was really scary for me, I think, when I was growing up, was that people lie so much to each other. Because like, even just saying, "Hi, how are you?" And people go, "Hi, yes, I'm fine," and I was like, "No, you're not fine. You're really sad, or you're bitter, or you've just had a fight with your husband," or everything that was behind it. And I was like, and the first thing you say to me is a lie, so what other things do you lie to me about?
Yeah.
And then I started doubting if what I got as like you're angry or you're sad or whatever emotion came to me. And I started thinking that that was completely wrong as well, and that I was like, not that wasn't good, that I did that, and all these things. And that's why I went on this journey of trying to shut everything down and just listen to what people said out of their mouths, because I also experienced that people got very set back when I would say like, oh, because I knew if somebody had been quarreling with somebody or whatever. And when I was little, I remember I went up to this one person and I said, it'll be okay. Your husband and you will be okay. Don't worry, because she was worried about something. I don't even know what it was about, but she got so upset. Like, how do you know? Who's told you? What's going on? And
How old were you during this time as you were shutting yourself down and navigating through the world?
Oh, that was when I started school. So around 7, 8, 9, 10,
Okay.
around there. And through my teens, I tried really stepping back from all of this. And I was very Christian as well, which I felt like a strong connection. But then I understood that my way of being, because I went to a Christian school and that was very like rigid in the way that it was in their belief. And for me, that didn't match with what I experienced. And so again, I was different and I was outside of what the norm was. And therefore I after a while went into like denying everything and it can't be right and everything, until I started coming back to it again. And what actually happened was that I started opening up to communicating with angels. And I came across this book because I was, as you said, on the show jumping team with horses. And I moved to the Netherlands when I was like 20 something, 25. And I had a lot of time on my hands because the only thing I did was ride, and I did my physiotherapy studies there too. And I didn't have many friends. So there was like evenings where I just sat, and I came across this book called Ask Your Angels or something like that. And in there was a meditation to connect to your guardian angel. And suddenly when I did this meditation, I got this really strong smell of roses in the room. And there was a love presence, a presence of love that was so profound that I couldn't say, oh, this doesn't exist, and it was like meeting an old friend. I remembered, oh, that's what that was. When I was little, I had that connection, but because of everything that had happened through my life, and I'd like taken a stance away from it, that connection had been broken too. And so that was like such an opening for me, and I started writing a lot, of thoughts just coming through and channeling whatever came through and asking the angels in that way. I started having a very close connection with the angels from that point. And with everything that is evolvement, I should say, or everything evolving, when something profound happens like that, and your life kind of, because from that moment I couldn't deny that this was true for me, that I had that profound love energy around me, and that I had this connection, and my life started changing without me knowing. So I started having this communication, and I started this writing, and I also started having connections with my horses. I met a woman who like spoke to animals and had that also. And in this process, started opening up to so many other things. And very slowly and steadily, it changed my life into going into starting a spiritual center. So when I
Now, how old are you now, starting a spiritual center?
now I'm that was in 2007.
Uh-huh.
That was 30 something. And starting that center was so important to me. I did a few years of psychic studies, like studying being a psychic and doing energy readings and healings and that was for me coming home, because
Right.
suddenly somebody was speaking my language. I was allowed to see whatever I saw, and it was actually good that I saw it, and I could actually help other people through what I got, instead of it being like, oh, you're weird, why are you seeing this, why are you saying that, all these kind of things. So it was such a profound opening for me having that. um, and
Mm.
uh, and this center was a 3-year education, with the first year being energy readings, and then the next year was healings, and then it was a touch method. So it was like, first it was just the psychic part, and
Right.
then it was like energy work, but through hands, and then it was actually hands on, on the body. But implementing all these 3 ways of working with a human being, and seeing that person from all those different angles, or seeing people from those different angles, and being there, seeing behind their barriers and what's keeping them back in their life, and actually manage to open up to that love that we were just talking about. Because basically, when that love flows within us and our source is strong and we are connected again, then magic happens around us. Even if you're in a difficult situation, everything can change, although you're still in the same situation, because your way of seeing that situation and acquiring wisdom and knowledge of who you are can also tap into like resources we don't know we have.
Right.
And so, of course, when I started this, it was a lot of criticism that happened in Norway at that point.
Because of your being a royal?
Yes.
Yes. So
And that
how did
was,
you navigate through that?
yeah, so it was basically everybody against me. Like I had the historians against me, I had the politicians against me, I had the older businessmen, who said that I couldn't do this kind of thing. There were women that said I would be burned at the stakes if it wasn't at this day of age. And so there was just so much hate coming towards me, and to this day, basically from that point. But it was also like, I didn't start this spiritual center. It was called Soul Spring. And I didn't start Soul Spring to please anybody.
Right.
It felt really right to start it. And I felt as though I've had so many revelations from expanding and opening up to my talents in this field, and seeing all these layers come off me, and actually getting to know who I truly am for the first time, that I wanted to share that with other people, and that experience of really coming home within yourself, and so that was why I started. And I think if I had started to prove a point, or I'd started to fight for something or whatever, but it wasn't. It was just for other people to experience the same, and really coming back to their heart and their communication with your guides and whatever is around you. And I think that having that strength and grounding in that truth, I guess, that was really like ringing within my heart, that made me stand tall through it all. And there's so many people who ask me, because I've been in so many media storms, I can't even count them anymore. And there's so many people who say like, how do you do it? Are you still
Yes.
standing, from this?
Yes.
And
You're a public person. How do you protect yourself? How do you rise above it? How do you keep moving through? First of all, how did you hone your skill? Did you go to classes? And then secondly, as the media storm began to happen against you, how were you able to navigate all that negativity coming in your direction?
yeah, so first of all, I did study. I went to a psychic training, and also did the healing work. And that's where I understood that, wow, this is really where I have my passion. This is, for the first time, I really feel that I have like that there's something for me to do here on earth too, kind of thing, because I hadn't found that passion within me, like, oh, this earth is here for me, like Mother Earth is actually here and I can actually be me here, until I found that. And so and I think a lot of people, because at least in Norway, it's more open in LA and other places I found, but in Norway, it's very closed off towards these things, very shameful. You're not supposed to show that you have these talents or these gifts. And but I think for me, it was really like, wow, now I can actually be a human being, because now I know how to navigate, because that was my navigation. And I found my tools again, you know? And when I found those tools, I became really strong, because then I got grounded for the first time in my grown-up life, I think. Because I had a purpose. I knew why I was here in a way. And when I became grounded like that, and I just really followed my heart all the time. And I meditated, I prayed, I was very close to communicating with my angels and my guides. And that really helped me through everything. And I think when you see that it is because other people are scared or they are afraid, and they haven't found that within themselves, and then you become a threat to them. And I understand that. And they also have to have their journey. And actually, a few of the journalists that were really hard on me from start came around like 10 years later and said, now we finally understand what you're talking about. And I'm so sorry for everything I've done to you and all the misery I've caused you. And I actually understand what it's all about now. I'm on the same path as you. And so those kind of moments have also been very valuable to me. And I think we all have a purpose, and when we shine our lights, I think that's what people are most afraid of for some reason. And that's always baffled me from when I was little, that why do we create a world that is built on fear, judgment, and hate towards each other, where we want to in duality and want to, like, you're this, you're that, and box everything into different, instead of just meeting each other with love, because that's where we thrive. That's where we are creative, when we are safe and we are loved and we don't get judged. That's where we prosper. And so I'm like, why don't we create a world where that is more out there and available to everybody?
Right.
I've never understood that. I've never understood why we want to, like, hate each other, why we're mean to each other, why we take each other down, or take ourselves down as a start. And I think that, you know, and being able to have that opportunity, I would say, to share that with other people and see the light being lit in other people's eyes, as you know, is the most wonderful thing you can experience.
So go ahead.
Yeah, and seeing how lives changed from them finding who they are,
right,
and navigating from that, instead of their head where they think that this is what I'm supposed to do, and ending up where they're supposed to be, but realizing that that's not what makes them happy. And I think many people live their lives in that way, that they end up where they think they're supposed to be from the norms of society, and they end up and, like, I'm supposed to be happy now, but this is hollow. I don't feel anything. This is not really my place.
right.
And to really shift that into being, like, purposeful, meaning, loving, changing, that's so powerful. I found that's very, like,
you're talking about one discovering themselves the way that you did. You know, you
yeah.
you knew who you were as a young child, but then you normalized yourself to the external world. And then when you found this again, as you said earlier, it was like a homecoming. You came back to yourself, and then coming
Yes.
back to yourself, that's a threat to people who are still living under the facade of a mask of their personality that's been honed by the world of, as you say, what they should do. External authority figures, you should be doing this. This will make you happy if you do this. And so, it does, when people are awake, it does make people either uncomfortable or it makes them enthused to grow themselves. But you're no longer a neutral person. It's like the old saying is, this will drive you or draw you. It will drive you away or draw you closer to you, depending on whether the person is ready or not. And
Yes.
so you've had this flowering within your culture as a royal, which disturbed a lot of people.
Yes. And it also opened up a lot to
Yeah,
this kind of thinking and way of being in Norway.
right.
And so
You're a pioneer in Norway. You're like one of the pioneers.
yes,
You had to
I was
take the first hit.
yes, I was one of them. Now it's more open than it was then. Then
Mm,
nobody talked about it. Yoga wasn't even like a very established thing. And acupuncture was seen as very like witchy and horrible, and you shouldn't go to it at the
right.
time. And that's only in 2007. So a lot has
Wow.
changed now. Everybody's doing meditation and mindfulness and yoga. And so it is coming in to a more open way of being and seeing and being present. And I think that's very beautiful. I have hope.
Right. Now, I think at one point you were sharing a story where, to me, we were sitting talking to you and Derek about you would do readings sometimes, but you'd put on a wig.
Oh yeah.
You would actually you didn't want to cause an issue in the royal family,
Yeah,
so you
so
would actually disguise your identity and do spiritual counseling and readings in disguise.
that's right. So it was very funny because while I did my education, my psychic education, we were doing like energy readings.
Mhm.
And most of the time in the course, we only did it on each other, and we were like 10 people. After you've done X amount of and working with somebody, it's good to get some people you haven't done that
Mm.
to before at all. So don't know anything about that person's background and see
Right.
what up. So you just have to follow your intuition because you don't know anything about that person before he or she sits down in front of you, right? And so once every half year, we had people, what we call from the outside, that weren't part of the chorus, and they came in. And it was very secret that I was at this course because it was so shameful, and also that it was so like not done, this spiritual kind of way of communicating or being or
Yeah.
doing energy readings. And so I thought, okay, I really want to be part of this, but they cannot recognize me because I want to be undercover while I do this course. So I thought, right, I'm going to get a wig. I'm going to get like I got my contacts, which were brown, different color because I have blue eyes. And I put like a beanie on and like a hoodie, and I looked like like one of these street kids. And I went there and I did these energy readings with that. And my fellow students said that it was great. Nobody could recognize you until you laugh, because
Ah.
apparently my laughter is very recognizable and very well known in Norway. And so that's how it went. And we were laughing so hard when I walked in with with this like
Your laughter outed you.
yes, the undercover look. But actually, that also, because when you're in this kind of process of things, anything can trigger you, or you grow with everything. And through that, I actually understood how much I had to hide who I was and who I am, because then it was physical. Like
Mm.
normally I was me, but I had to hide all these things within myself, for the world, because it wasn't known yet. um, and um, and it really I saw how much I'd held back on so many issues because I had to like cover up inside of me with all these things and hide who I was all the time, which I used so much energy to do. And so when I could finally step out and I started my education and everything, then I had so much energy to live for instead, because I'd used so much of my energy to hold all of this back in me. And
Right.
I came out with so much more energy. It was very transformational.
Yeah, you're blocking yourself. Do you have any particular strategies that you use now to like maintain a sense of well-being? Because you're still a public person, you know, and imagine there's arrows of criticism that still are shot in your direction,
Oh,
you
every day,
know. So
every day.
what strategies do you use to maintain your own well-being in all of this?
I'm very lucky. I am married to Shaman Durek, and
Yeah.
one of the things that was really that I really love him for is his connection to spirit. And so we evolve a lot together and just do sessions on each other and pray together, meditate together every morning, and we have our routines, and that really helps me every time when there is an issue, or because I'm human, like it goes up and down, and sometimes I'm totally fine with all the criticism, and other times I get really knocked down by it, and I go into this like, oh, why is the world like this, and am I doing something wrong? And like it's human to
Right,
have
right.
these ways, but every time it's also finding new doors that are open to criticism, because the way I see it as well is that criticism can't hit you if you haven't opened the door to it. Like, you can't tell me that I have blue hair, for example, because I don't have blue hair. So if you had said, oh, you have blue hair, I'm like, no, I don't. And that wouldn't affect me at all, right?
Right.
So whenever there is something that hits you of criticism, it's also always, the way I see it at least, is that there's always a door open within me for that hurt, or
Mm-hmm.
for that arrow to actually hit.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I get hurt, it's like, okay, so where is that door that's open for that kind of criticism? What is it
Mm-hmm.
within me that allows that criticism to hurt me? Because it must be a point within me and that is still vulnerable for that attack. Like,
Right.
do I still feel that I'm not worthy of this, having these gifts, or am I not a good person, or all these different doubts and things we can have deep down in our unconscious. And I think every time there is an arrow that hits, it's also an opportunity to see, okay, what part of me can I evolve in now? Like, is there
Yes.
another place where I can evolve? Because this is just a trigger that arrow is hitting. It's a trigger from the past. And so what is actually going on? What
Right.
is actually going on? What was it that hurt me in the past, that this arrow is hitting me now and touching from my past that I haven't healed?
Right.
And so for me, it's like an opportunity to grow and to evolve and to see new aspects within myself. And that's how I also use the criticism from outside.
So you're using it as an evolutionary trigger so that it
Yeah,
comes in. If there's a pain there, then you're going to allow that to make you grow into a more expanded being. So rather than just complain about it,
yes.
which is very human to do, at some point you take it on as, okay, how can I grow from this? This is an evolutionary trigger. What is it touching? What is it teaching me? How can I become more myself? So you use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I've started seeing that is my way of solving or moving through that issue or those issues.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel that has helped me tremendously. And of course, having Shaman Dirk by my side, and he's like amazing at these kind of things, and always makes me see my potential and my strength and my ability and why, you know, like, and my rootedness in my love and my source, and gets me back to that place. Because I think whenever we are knocked out from that, that's when we get hurt. But
Yes.
when we are in our center, in our love being, I would say, in our source and in our core, then nothing can really touch us. But we are also here on earth to grow, I think. And I
Yeah.
think that's all
We're
these
here, we're here to perfect our loving,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
to
I
grow
love
and
that.
to perfect our ability and our willingness to just love. Because
Yeah.
even Shaman Durek, I mean, he's been attacked vehemently as well. You know, they
Oh,
said all manner of crazy things about him. That so
absolutely.
so you
And
guys
then
have this dance of dancing into that space where you can't be hurt, even though it hurts.
it does hurt. And like I said, like and it goes up and down, like how really what where you're at that day, really, and what comes at you. But then we also always evolve through it, you know, and use our powers and help each other grow through it. And that's such a strength. And I really feel so supported with him by my side. And
Yeah,
through all those things, really.
yeah, you found the soulmate, so you guys can navigate together, and you both have spiritual powers and prowess
Yeah.
to move through the sludge and become better versions of yourself over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's powerful. So after you got married, what was the tenor in the country? Was it celebratory, or was it critique, or a combination of both? What's the dynamic of that now?
So first it was very celebratory. When you were there, it was very like
Hmm.
great. And then after a while, all the criticism comes in.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, um,
And do you not look at it? You like this, like we're not going to read the newspaper today, or what is your strategy for not participating at that low vile level?
yeah, I don't read a lot of it, I have to
Mhm.
say. Karina, who set together the whole wedding as well, but is also my manager. She sends articles to me that I have to read if there's something that's important for me to read.
Hmm.
And then I don't really take it in, but I know what's going on, kind of thing.
Right.
I get the outline of the stories that are being created, but I don't really take it in or go through everything, because I don't think that's very
No, it's not. Yeah,
healthy.
it's
Yes,
not healthy. It's like people who become addicted to watching the news, which is
yes,
primarily negative.
yes,
And then
exactly.
they're filling their whole subconscious mind with all of these memes of negativity. It's not healthy for the body. It's not healthy for the mind. It's not healthy for the immune system. So in that
Yes,
same sense, it's the same thing, but it's more personal because of your coming from a royal lineage, that people have all these opinions about you and Shaman Durek and what they think you should do with your life.
yeah, exactly. And what I've also experienced, and like the Native Americans say, that when you point at somebody, there's also three fingers pointing back at yourself.
Right.
And so when you point at others, it's also something that is about yourself. Um, and and maybe they are just showing where they are in their evolution and have to have somebody to criticize to feel good about themselves, you know,
Absolutely. I've
to justify the staying in the same space or staying in that space or having those views. Um, so that's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. I've said over the years that mediocrity always attacks excellence. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a part of what mediocrity does.
And you said that we had a meeting before we got married as
Yeah.
well in Ålesund in Norway, and you said that, and that helped me so much because we were just drowning in all this negativity at that time.
Yeah.
And I was just also, because I was so stressed, because planning a wedding is just so stressful with all the details, and there was just so many people and so many things that had to work. And when it finally happened, I was just like, oh, I was a little bit of a stressed human being. And so when we had that meeting, that just really again helped me so much to ground into who I am,
Yes.
and you saying that helped, and it just melted away. It was just, yes, of course, that's what it is, and I know it, but you just need somebody to say that sometimes.
Right. An activated energy. Let
Correct.
me ask you about this. True Experiences. It's an initiative that focuses on nature retreats for personal growth. That's something else you started.
Yeah, so I've started so many things. So what we do is we take people on journeys, spiritual journeys. So the last one we did was to Spitsbergen, which is like a island, a Norwegian owned island. Well, who can own nature, but at least it's under the Norwegian jurisdiction, almost on the North Pole.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very far north. And the nature is very different there than anywhere else I've been. There's no trees at all. And well, there are trees, but they're this high.
Shrubs.
Yeah. And you have grass. But mostly it's like barren, and it's a lot of winter all the time. It's glaciers all over, like with this blue ice, and you have polar bears, walking the streets of the town there. And this wildlife that's amazing. You have reindeer that are there that have no predators, so they have much shorter legs than they have on the mainland, and wander by themselves because they don't have to flock together to protect themselves. And that I thought was so interesting, and that was like mind-blowing to me, because like these animals all go together in a group because they have predators, but maybe they're not really herd animals, really. Because when they didn't have predators, they're all like one by one by one, wandering around, having a great time by themselves. They're not dependent on their herd.
Right.
And we all think that they love being herd animals because they always stick together, but maybe that's just because they have
predators. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you take people on these excursions, and
and we had this amazing connection there. It was the nature is insane. You see these glaciers, there's like all this like amazing beauty all over. You see the polar bears, you see the seals, you see all these nature is so close. And also because it's so far north, people haven't started like inhabiting nature, so the experience of nature there is just so vast, and it's so pure, it's so direct compared to what we have when we're all like having cities where we're like taken over nature and we've controlled nature in a way. But there it's so free, and it's like this immense power in the mountains and in the sea and in whatever you see. And every day we did meditations outside. And this one particular day, we had taken a boat for hours into this desolate place where there was this amazing glacier that we were going to go next to and just feel into. And we were standing in a circle, and I'd given everybody a crystal to hold on to, or to hold in their hands. And then we started speaking to the glacier. And as I said, like we open up to the spirit of the glacier. We love you, and I started saying that. And the whole glacier started rumbling. Like the whole glacier was rumbling through the whole thing as I said that. And we meditated for like maybe 20 minutes. And as I closed it and I said, okay, thank you, spirit of the glacier, and again, the whole glacier went like that. And we were all like crying. It was like such an immense experience. And I think, we lose track of that closeness to nature and that connectedness to nature when we are so far away from it in our daily lives, even
Yes.
though we have nature around us, but it's not really connecting with the spirits of nature in such a profound way. And also when it's so open, like it was there, it was so powerful. It was so powerful, and the beauty there is insane. So yeah, so
Uh,
being in nature is definitely life-changing, and I love that. And
And you,
I
and you actively use nature for your own well-being.
yes, I do. And
Yeah.
that's where the horses have come in for me, like
Mhm.
um, um riding horses is communicating with animals on more than one level. It's a soul level, it's a heart level, but it's also physical, where you have your aids with the horse. And that connectedness where you latch your heart onto the horse's heart is such a strong bond when you actually have it with a horse that you can actually just think what you want to do, and the horse like turns, or
Mm.
when you do competitions. But what I loved the most, and what I did from when I was really young, was going out in nature on horses and just seeing nature and moving through nature. And other animals react different. When you meet moose, for example, in the woods, they react different to you when you're on a horse than when you're walking as a human being on with
Uh,
your 2 feet. And you just have these profound experiences with nature in that way, and that has been so valuable to me.
it's
Yeah,
powerful. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
And then I
it and
remember there was a kahuna in Hawaii. Her name was Nana Very. And whenever she would counsel people, she would just take them either next to the ocean or in nature and do a counseling sessions there. And she would say actually nature was doing all the work
yes,
and she
exactly.
was she was facilitating.
Yeah,
And so I'm getting that same frequency from you. You take people
yeah,
out into these experiences, you facilitate it, but you're allowing the power of the glacier, the power of seeing wildlife, the power of all the things that are natural, untouched by humans.
yes.
You're feeling that power oozing, and it helps
Mm,
people come back to themselves. It's transformational. I can feel it. Yeah.
yes. Yes, it really is. And I think also just taking people away from everyday life and the busyness of, the normal chores, and we have to do this and we have to do that and we have to rush to this, and the stress of everyday life, and just really start receiving, because I think that's something we forget in our everyday life, that we don't receive. We're going after something all the
Yeah.
time and running after something instead of receiving life and receiving uh, life coming towards us, instead of running after life and trying to make things happen and hustling and bustling, like running. Instead, like having some time where you can actually receive life
Hmm.
and just experience without any of that is just really, really powerful to me, at least.
Absolutely. Because you're talking about bringing people to a state of being,
Hmm.
their real self. And then from that state, I like to say that you become kind of a paramagnetic field that
Yeah.
it just reveals and brings into your life whatever it is that you need because you're not craving, striving, or trying to get it. You're it. You're the vibration of it.
Yes.
And then grace shocks and surprises you about the gifts that starts to show up in your life. So you're bringing people back to yourself. So it's wonderful hearing your arc of as a child, how natural your connection to the spirit world was, how you had to normalize yourself to fit in. And then you ultimately had to come back to yourself, which was a homecoming, and then obviously suffer a tremendous criticism because you were dealing in areas that were beyond pure religion. You're getting into the spiritual realm.
Mm.
And now you're more stabilized in yourself. And you have a partner that you're married to who's stabilized in himself. So together you have this kind of a dynamic of love that supports each other to continue to grow and to serve humanity. And you have each other when it's hard, you have each other when it's time to celebrate. And you, as a woman, what have you developed? About 6, 7, 8 businesses as an entrepreneur?
Yes, yes, and I forgot to say earlier, also have a podcast called
Yes.
HeartSmart Conversations.
What's it
Um,
called? It's called what?
it's called HeartSmart Conversations.
Hard, smart
Heart,
conversation.
heart
Oh,
smart,
heart.
heart
Yes.
smart, like being
Conversation.
smart from the heart instead of your brain, like
Yeah.
heart smart conversations, and that is about how we can navigate from our hearts instead of what we think is good, and also bringing people there to talk about how how they've navigated their life before they had that transformation, and then what is your life like now, what happened, and what is your life now like now once you're following that
It's
that
like
inner.
you.
Yes, exactly, that's
You're
probably why
basically
it,
interviewing people that's had a similar experience as you've had.
yes,
And so
yeah,
today, are you embraced like by your family, your mother, your father, your brother? I mean, how do they see you now? Have you influenced them? I mean, your mother and father were very loving, when I met them, and very just they really appreciated what I had to offer. You know, how are you accepted now? Family. I know there's criticism in the world, but in terms of your family, are you accepted now and appreciate at least understood a little bit?
yes, yes. My father said something officially
He's the
that
king of Norway.
I can quote, which is that he said that he doesn't always agree with his children, which is me and my brother,
Hmm.
but he always loves us,
Yeah.
and that's such a powerful thing. And I think more people should think like that we don't have to agree, but we can still love each other, or we don't have to understand each other, but we can still love each other.
Uh,
So yeah,
That I think that is the lesson that we're trying to learn now on the planet, that everyone is unique, so everyone has different perspectives. So everyone's not going to agree, but we don't have to be disagreeable
yeah,
as we're having dialogue and conversations and coming to some synthesis of things we can agree upon. You
yeah.
know, hate is not a good thing.
Yes, exactly.
You
But
know,
still we levitate as species towards hate, which is really sad. Like, I mean, not as individuals, but if you see the world today, it's like a lot of hate, a lot of war, a lot of drama, a lot of fear. Um, and I think more than ever, we need to stand strong with our heart energy, because when we stand strong in our heart energy, as you know well, very well, it spreads. And
yes.
I think the more people open up to that part of them, the more, and maybe that's why it is the way it is now as well, because now we have to.
We're creating a big evolutionary trigger to take a big leap, a quantum leap into the next great vision and version of who we are as humanity. But I think that hate is learned. A baby doesn't come out of the womb hating anybody.
Yeah.
The first couple of years, they're in unity consciousness, and the first 7 years, they're in theta. It's something that's taught,
Mm-hmm.
and the media and powers that be who want to keep us separated and keep us powerless,
Mm-hmm.
that we can be easily controlled. Because when an individual opens up to who they are, their love nature, and they become creative as you have done, they can't be controlled by external circumstances and people. They're sovereign free beings. And I think that powers that be are afraid of beings who are free and loving and creative. You look back at the chill that went through people's spines during the hippie movement years ago.
Yeah,
People were
yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to be loving. You know what I mean? It brought a lot of fear to people who were hiding behind the mask of separation. So uh, I think you've done a great service for your country by becoming back to yourself, and particularly coming from a royal family. You've done a great service of being yourself. And I'm sure you've affected probably more people than you even know, you
Yeah.
know, that they look at your courage, your confidence, the way you're navigating the negativity coming at you, and you're still standing strong. Uh, you made a commitment to each other, where you know that there's somebody that is for you, that's got you. and you've got that person. So you're able to surrender to that and surrender to the God presence and continue to be a shining example for so many people as an entrepreneur, cultural creative, an intuitive, an empath, a lover of nature, a lover of people. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I think that yeah, it's been really important for me to I think be brave enough, I would say, to stand up and be who I am, because the other it would be easier for me to choose otherwise.
Absolutely.
But
The
it
easy,
wasn't, but it wasn't a choice in a way, because if I hadn't stood up and come out as who I am, then I don't know where I'd been.
absolutely. It's like it's a spiritual coming out party. It's like coming out of the closet spiritually.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I always come in out of the spiritual closet. That's what I usually call it. I came out of the spiritual closet in 2007.
Yeah, right.
and it's been wonderful, because then, so people say that, when you're very strong is when you don't show weakness, but to me, being strong is being vulnerable, because when I dare be vulnerable too, I mean, I can be strong, but I dare to be vulnerable and show my vulnerability and my vulnerable sides and my weaknesses, where I fail, when I daren't stand in my power all the time and everything. When you dare to be vulnerable and share that vulnerability, that's when you're actually strong. Because if you just want to show your strong side all the time, then you have such a door open, which is your vulnerability, that could really hit you hard. But when you're comfortable with being vulnerable and human and wrong sometimes, and accepting who you are from all your, accepting your shadows, accepting your light, accepting, all the things in between there, that's when you're really strong, I think.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's misunderstood that being strong is this like fighter that's always fighting, like.
Yeah. Well, it's the old masculine patriarchal model.
Yes.
And that if a tree doesn't bend when that big wind comes, it'll break. But if it yields, it's able to live a long time in the vicissitudes of Mother Nature. So,
Yes.
so listen, anything that you want to tell the people but first of all, tell us how they can be in contact with you. I know you have your podcast.
Yes, I have my podcast called HeartSmart
Mhm.
Conversations with Lily Benders and Mari Mansetti, are two amazing women. We have so much fun together as well.
Mhm.
And regarding different topics of whatever comes or whatever people say. And we are on Instagram on HeartSmart Convos.
Okay.
And I am also on Instagram as I am Märtha Louise.
Okay.
You can DM me there if you want to connect with me.
Very good. I am Märtha Louise. So I'm just
Yeah.
looking at Soul Spring, HES 360, True Experiences, HES, Heart
Yes.
Smart.
Yes.
You've done a lot
Yes.
as an entrepreneur and as a social change agent. And I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you have the strategies necessary to take back your mind during times of challenge. I appreciate having been with you in Norway and experienced agape with you in Shamandurek when you come to Los Angeles. And any final words you want to say to the people? Anything comes up that you just want to say, oh, one more thing, or have you said it all today?
I think I would like to say, remember to be who you are and not who other people who have said that you're supposed to be.
Yes.
And embrace that and all parts of you
Yes.
in acceptance and love.
Absolutely. And you have done that for so many people to see. And so we applaud you. We give thanks to you. Again, congratulations to you and Shaman Durek on this wonderful ceremony, this wonderful marriage, and continue to shine your light. Appreciate it.
Thank you for all the wonderful work you do, and I'm just so honored to know you and to have had you at our wedding, and it was just so special for us. So thank you.
And to the eyes of the spirit, you'll always be royal.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Märtha Louise. You know how to find her, and I want you to know she's genuine. She's real. She's for real. And I've had the opportunity to be with her and Shaman Durek many times, and she's a real wonderful being. So thank you for being with us. Peace and blessings.
Yeah.
Radical blessings to you. This is the portion of the Take Back Your Mind podcast where we actually practice the art and science of meditation. Meditation, as you do it consistently, is a big act of self-love and appreciation. You're actually taking care of yourself, pulling yourself away from the debris, the conditions, the circumstances, all of the mental pollution that may be inhabiting your world. You're actually pulling yourself away from that and going within and getting a sense of your oneness with the power and the presence and the love that is everywhere. So I want you to begin to love yourself, not as a concept, but as a verb and a practice. And meditation is a wonderful way of telling yourself, the body temple, the mental body, all of the subtle bodies, that you love you. You love what the source has created and allowed you to emerge to represent. So I invite you to stop at this moment, to close your outer eyes. Tap the space between the eyebrows. Tap the space around your heart chakra. Tap at the space at the top of your head, just as a point of activation. And as we allow these centers to be activated through our attention, we give ourselves permission to fall deeply in love with loving. We give ourselves permission to see the invisible, the presence that's everywhere. We give ourselves permission to represent this presence in this incarnation. Think of a moment in which you absolutely felt unadulterated love. Whether that moment was a moment in which you held an infant in your arms, or there was a new infant brought into your family, or someone you deeply cherished and cared for. Give yourself permission to feel into this love. And then allow this love feeling to embrace your entire body temple, that you're in a field of love. With every breath you take, this field of love is activated and expanded to the room you're sitting in, to the building that you're in, whether it's domicile, your home or business, or even your car. All is in this field of love. Notice this field of love is in your neighborhood. Your neighborhood is in it. Your city is in it. Your state is in it. Whatever nation you're in is in this field of love. The whole world is in this field of love, the whole planet, with all sentient beings. This is your bubble of love. It's real. And it's not only affecting you, it's affecting so many beings on this planet. They may not know any idea of why suddenly they're feeling a little better or making a higher choice. You are affecting the mental atmosphere of the planet through being still, feeling the love, and allowing it to expand everywhere. War-torn areas of the world, famine, this love is right there, because there is here. There's no separation. Sit in the silence for a few seconds, allowing the love to overflow the banks of your present paradigm until you're in it. Because your consciousness is infinite, your field is infinite. This love and your real spirit is everywhere. Now in this dynamic feeling tone of love that's embracing you and the entire world, feel the consciousness of thanksgiving and gratitude. Be grateful for anything at all. And feel that you're in love and you're in gratitude. Now, universal law will give you more to be grateful for. Give thanks as we allow it to be. And so it is. Amen. As we slowly open our eyes, we maintain the awareness of our connectivity to the great presence of love and gratitude. And we bring this everywhere we go. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. I truly hope that you are enjoying Take Back Your Mind podcast. The Take Back Your Mind podcast is sponsored primarily by the Agape International Spiritual Center. In other words, everything that you see in terms of the staff that puts this together, the editing, the equipment, all of this is sponsored by our Agape International Spiritual Center. So if you are enjoying the podcast, I'm inviting you to support the sponsor. Support Agape. Simply go to agapelive.com and make a donation. And say in the donation that you are supporting the podcast. It allows us to keep broadcasting. It allows us to keep putting these magnificent moments together with these wonderful people that I get to interview. We keep having the possibility of updating the equipment that's necessary and providing the wonderful content that many of you are writing in and saying, I really love the podcast. Support the podcast. Support the sponsor. Agape International Spiritual Center. agapelive.com. You can also text to donate. You can text the word give to 424-321-6243 and put podcast so that we know that you're really supporting this wonderful podcast. Our secondary sponsor is Adaptozen, Adaptozen. This is my superfood greens. It's nutritionally dense because I teach spirit, mind, and body. We want our body temples to be healthy. So one of the products is my superfood greens. You can go to NutraRise.com. Those three little lines you see, you hit those three little lines and you'll see Adaptozen. There's two products, my superfood greens and a product called Elevate, which are organic mushrooms for your health. You can put both in your smoothies so that you have main ingredients for the health of your body temple. These are our sponsors. Primary sponsor, Agape International Spiritual Center. Secondary sponsor, Adaptozen. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be wise. Circulate and share. Peace and blessings. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in taking back your mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.